Peace, blessings. Coming back with another video. Today I'm gonna do something a little different. I want to do something with zodiac signs. I want to talk about the difference between each zodiac sign depending on the month. So, for example, um, if you're a Capricorn, you know that goes for December and January. I'm going to tell the difference between the December Capricorns and the difference between the January Capricorns, and I'm gonna do that for each sign. And here we're gonna see how this turns out. Of course, this is from my own observation and some research as well. We're giving examples. The research as far as giving examples of those different signs in each month, so y'all can know what I'm talking about more in depth. So we're gonna get right into it. So of course, I got my notes. So first sign of the zodiac is Aries, which will be from March and April. So to me, March Aries, since that's a fire sign, that's the element, they're not as fiery to me as April. They got a laid back presence. They're not as aggressive in their personality, but they are ambitious. And a few examples I give for March is Big Sean, Celine Dion, Reese Witherspoon, Shaka Khan, Diana Ross. All of those people are March Aries, and they don't seem as fiery. When I say fiery, I mean like you don't feel that fire sign presence as far as like it's real, like that real, fiery presence of what fire signs have, which is Aries, Leos, and Sagittarius. You don't feel that as much. You kind of feel a more welcoming energy. And not to say that the fiery energy is bad, you just don't feel, I guess we could say it's intense. That's the better way to say fiery. It's not as intense for a fire sign. So to me, that's March Aries. For April, I would say April Aries are more fiery to me. Their presence, you could feel it a lot more. I would say they're a lot more aggressive from my experience. I would think they're more emotional when it comes to expressing that. They definitely could be a little more emotional and silly for depending on how close you are to them or how open they are to you. And they're definitely more high-headed. Definitely. They could be way more high-headed, and that's what I mean by the expressive part with their temper, because Aries could have tempers. That's the ram. So I feel like April is more high-headed and more has more of a temper than March. An example of April zodiac signs would be Eddie Murphy, Robert Downey Jr., Jackie Chan, Chance the Rapper, and Marlon Lawrence. All those April people, Aries, I feel like they're way more emotional, way more expressive. Even if some of them are actors, in the roles that they play, they play expressive people, funny, but they also got high tempers as well. And I feel like those are the differences between March Aries and April Aries. Moving on to Taurus, second sign of zodiac. That would be for April and May. So for April, I got not as aggressive, more silly, and more laid back personality. They're not as serious all the time. Not too stubborn as well. An example of April Taurus would be John Cena, Channing Tatum, Jessica Alba, Jerry Seinfeld, and Travis Scott. Those Tauruses, when you see them, they're very even tempered, very balanced, very level-headed individuals. They're not as serious. They kind of have their little funny side to them as well, but they're not always as serious. Compared to May. To me, May Taurus can be more stubborn. Takes a while for them to open up out their shell, to put down that wall. They can have a very serious demeanor, and they can have way more of a temper, because that's the bull, the raging bull. They can have way more of a temper to me in my dealings with them more than April Aries, April Taurus, I feel like May Tauruses have way more of a temper than the April Taurus. So some examples of May Tauruses would be The Rock, very serious. He's very serious. George Clooney, always serious demeanor, even in the roles he played. David Beckham, always serious. Meek Mill, always serious. Janet Jackson always had, she smiles and stuff, but she always had that serious temper, like not as approachable, unless you really know her or she opened up to you about more. And Megan Fox always had a serious demeanor. She not saying that they're not cool, but they always have that serious demeanor, like they about their business. Unless they, you get them to that point of being open, and they probably show the other side. But most of the time, they're serious, and you're dealing with an earth sign, So earth signs are pretty grounded. But I feel like May is more grounded than April when it comes to seriousness and being very with that wall up. So that's Tauruses. So moving on. Next we got Gemini. Gemini will be from May to June. For May, Geminis, they have a more chilled and laid back personality to me, more balanced, balancing their personalities because that's the twin. So I feel like they balance their personalities a little better. They can control their emotions a little better, and I feel like they're not as harsh or bipolar as June Geminis. An example of May would be Octavia Spencer, Lauryn Hill, Naomi Campbell, John F. Kennedy, and Patti LaBelle. Now those Geminis feel like they're very chilled in their personalities, very laid back, very welcoming. Never really see them erratic like that, like just bursting out, just saying whatever, or just doing crazy stuff. You always see them kind of balanced and balancing that twin. For June Geminis. Oh yeah, and that's an air sign as well for people that don't know. But for June Geminis, I got more serious. Personality could be much stronger and fierce. They could have more difficulty balancing that twin. And they're definitely more emotional, I feel, more than May Geminis. I feel like June Gemini is way more emotional. And it's harder for them to balance that. Examples of June Geminis would be Donald Trump, Kanye West, Tupac Shakur, Kendrick Lamar, and Morgan Freeman. Now those Geminis are very expressive, way more emotional, way more theatrical when it comes to their art, expressing their personalities, and it's nothing. And they're more serious too. There's nothing wrong with that. But compared to May Geminis, they're way more like out there, theatrical, emotional, expressive, and all those people I named clearly is a perfect example of that. So moving on to Cancer, the fourth sign, which would be from June to July. For June, and that's a water sign. For June Cancers, I feel like they're more balanced with their emotions, very calm personality, but they can be a bit sensitive. They can come off serious sometimes until you get them out of that shell, because remember, you're dealing with the crab. An example of June Cancers would be, for that description, would be Ariana Grande, 50 Cent, Kathy Bates, Solange Knowles, and Khloe Kardashian. I feel like those fit those descriptions, those points of descriptions I described. Because most of the time you see Ariana Grande, she's balanced, she's not really too emotional, doing anything too crazy. 50 Cent definitely is serious and not too emotional unless you see him just going at people. And when you see him break down the shell of that seriousness, he could be cool and funny at times. Solange Knowles as well, Khloe Kardashian, those are just a few. So for July, Cancers, I feel like they could be more emotional and expressive. They can have a more upbeat personality than June. They could be way more sensitive than June. And they could go into their shell more than June Cancers as well. And an example of them would be Missy Elliott, Lindsay Lohan, Tom Cruise, Tia and Tamera Mowry, and Will Ferrell. Now those July Cancers fit that description perfectly. All those people are very expressive, very well more emotional. You see Will Ferrell in his movies; he's always very expressive and theatrical, just like in person. Tia and Tamara are very more emotional, very more expressive, and you seen them at times when they expressing themselves in tears and being open about their family and different other things that they went through and just stuff overall. Missy Elliott in her art, she definitely was expressive, way more emotional. She's definitely more out there, and those are not bad things, depending on what they're doing with them. And Lindsay Lohan, Tom Cruise, definitely. You see him when he went crazy over what was her name? I forgot her name, but when he was dating her, it was another actress. When he was dating her, Katie Holmes, and he was going crazy on the couch. I think he was on Oprah, and he was jumping all over the couch saying how much he loved it. He was just going crazy. But that's that emotional, expressive side I was talking about more than June. So moving on, Leo, the fifth sign, which would be from July to August, and that's a fire sign. So July Leos to me are more fiery to the person with their personality, and when I say fiery, I mean like you feel them more, you feel that fire sign presence more than you would feel August Leos. And the fiery also means fierce, in my way of describing it. So they're more fiery. They can be more all about themselves and not and totally into themselves as well. They have a very big ego, more than August to me, in my opinion, from my observations. If it's not controlled, they could play like they're strong at times, and that's just to hide their emotional side. Because, like I said, July Leos can have a way more bigger ego, so they can play that tough role, act like they don't care when it comes to people or situations, but that's just to protect themselves from feeling that emotional side, because they way more fiery, so they want to appear strong all the time. Examples of those would be Jennifer Lopez, Mick Jagger, Lawrence Fishburne, Vivica Fox, and Sandra Bullock. Those July Leos are very fiery, especially when you see them in certain movies or interviews, certain stuff like that. Very fiery presence, very commanding presence, very prideful presence. And like I said, depending on the situation, those are not bad things, depending on how they're using it. So, August Leos, I feel like they're more chill personality, more of a silly and open personality. They can be more sensitive than July. Not as prideful. When I say prideful, I mean like they don't let their pride get in the way of, even if they know they're supposed to say sorry or they're wrong, they're not going to let their pride get in the way, and they'll say if they're wrong or not, more than July would. It would take a lot for July to do that. To put their pride and ego to the side. And they're very humble versus having an ego more than July. An example of those August Leos, would be Barack Obama, Whitney Houston, Viola Davis, Halle Berry, and Robert De Niro. And those people definitely fit those descriptions, because you never see them as fiery, meaning like they're just so fierce all the time. You see them kind of calm, cool, collective, very open, very inviting energy. Yeah. So compared to July, they're way more humble versus the ego, way more calmer, not as prideful, and that's the difference between those two. So moving on, Virgo, the sixth sign, August versus September, and that's an earth sign. August Virgos, I feel like their personality can be more open, not as serious, carefree personality, and that doesn't mean crazy, but just more not as trying to be perfection with everything, because Virgos can have a tendency to try to perfect everything. Might be less grounded, and when I say that, I mean like not as much as a fierce demeanor, because that's an earth sign. When it comes to their emotions, that's what I mean when it comes to that. So examples of those would be Blair Underwood, Melissa McCarthy, Jack Black, Cameron Diaz, and Richard Gere. And for September, Virgos, I feel like they have a more stronger demeanor, more serious, not easily showing their emotions unless you get them to open up more. Uh, but they'll open up if they're comfortable around you. And who does this I have? They can have a way more temper than a way quicker temper, let me say, than August Virgos, in my opinion, from my observation with them. Examples of those would be Jada Pinkett, Beyonce, Idris Elba, Taraji P. Henson, and Nas. Now those people are always balanced with their demeanor, very strong demeanor, very strong presence, always look serious until you get them to open up. And then they show that fun side. You don't really see them too emotional all the time, and unless they're comfortable around people to be like that. And definitely you see them quicker tempered if people cross that line more than August Virgos. You would definitely see that temper come out quick if people cross that line. But for the most part, they're very grounded and balanced because that's the earth sign. So moving on. Number 7, Libra. September versus October. So for September Libras, I said they're more chilled and balanced personality. They can be silly at times when it's needed. Their demeanor could be serious to the public, but depending on who you are, they'll open up. Examples of those would be Serena Williams, Donald Glover, which would be Childish Gambino, Lil Wayne, Will Smith, and Hilary Duff. Now those Libras they have very chilled and balanced personalities, but they're also witty and funny too when you get them to open up to that side. But for the most part, they're very chilled and balanced and kind of serious demeanor. October Libras, I would say they're more sillier. They have a more sillier personality, more emotional, and sometimes they can be a little bit more unbalanced than September. Their demeanor is not as serious when it comes to being approached, so they could be more approachable than October. They could be more approachable than September Libras. Examples of those would be Cardi B, Usher, Snoop Dogg, Amber Rose, and Bruno Mars. Those October Libras are way more emotional, way more expressive, way more sillier. When you think of Cardi B, you think of Snoop Dogg, Amber Rose, Bruno Mars. They're way more happy and expressive and smiling and cracking jokes and just all over the place. That's how they are. It's an air sign too. So when it comes to October, they're way more like that versus September Libras. Next would be Scorpio, the ape sign. October versus November, which is a water sign. For October Scorpios, they can be more chilled and not as intense, carefree. They can display their emotions more, very expressive when it comes to their feelings, and they don't mind being silly. Examples of those would be Tracy Ellis Ross, Ciara, Drake, Gabrielle Union, and Julia Roberts. Those people fit that description. They're way more sillier, way more expressive when it comes to their art and their personalities and being in public and different things. They don't have, because Scorpios have every zodiac sign has their power. For Scorpios, it's their magnetic power and their intensity. Those October Scorpios I described are not as intense when you see them. Not as intense where it feels crazy and it's like a crazy pull where they pull you in and they want to know where you want to know them more. November Scorpios, I feel like their personality is way more intense, way more magnetic, less emotional. They do have emotions as a water sign, but it's not as much where you see it all the time right there on their face. It's not displayed, easily displayed. They could be more serious than silly most of the time, unless you get that guard down. And they could be more vindictive because Scorpios can be vindictive. Remember, that's the Scorpion, so they could sting you quicker and um, more easier than it would be for October to do that. You know. So examples of that would be Diddy, Kris Jenner, Leonardo DiCaprio, Whoopi Goldberg, and Anna Hathaway. Those definitely fit that description because they're always serious. They always look very intense. You heard about Diddy with stuff he done did in the industry. Kris Jenner, the Kardashians, how she runs that family. She played no games. Leonardo DiCaprio, all the roles he played, very serious, very commanding. Even when you look at him, very magnetic. Something about him pulls you in. But they also all have Whoopi Goldberg too looks serious. Anna Hathaway, but they all have that pull. Being November Scorpios way more than October. That magnetic feel, it makes it mysterious, mystique. That's the word I'm looking for. Excuse me. Very magnetic mystique where it pulls you in. You want to know more, but they look like they can be very vindictive too. So you got to be careful with them. Scorpio. Moving on. Number 9, Sagittarius, which would be from November to December. That's a fire sign. So to me, November Sagittarius are not as fiery personality. Like I said, it's a fire sign. Aries, Leos, and Sagittarius. So they're not as intense with their personality. They could be more laid back than December Sagittarius. Less intensity. They don't have as much of a quick temper like a December Sagittarius. Very receptive to others' feelings and stuff instead of just being into themselves more than December. Examples of those would be Tina Turner, Don Cheadle, Ben Stiller, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Miley Cyrus. Now those ones don't have as much of a fiery, intense personality. They're more laid back. You don't really see them as quick-tempered. And yeah, very receptive to people's feelings and stuff like that. They're just not into themselves like F everybody else, all about me. Versus December Sagittarius. So December Sagittarius personality is more fiery to me, more intense, more expressive, way more outspoken. Their temper could be way worse than November Sagittarius if they don't know how to control it when they're mad. And they could be very into themselves more than they care about about others. Examples of those December Sagittarius would be Janelle Monáe, Jay-Z, Nicki Minaj, Brad Pitt, and Samuel L. Jackson. Now those people have way more fiery personality when you see them, their demeanor, everything. Nicki Minaj and Jay-Z, you know them, they definitely could be into themselves more than what they care about others. They definitely have a quick temper. Janelle Monáe too, Brad Pitt, you can see that in him. Samuel Jackson, all the movies he played in and everything, you see him, the role. And like I said, movie roles, you gotta remember, movie roles are picked on your personality too. So you're just acting out yourself no matter what the role is. That's why you're fit for the role, because your personality fits it best. So yeah, you're acting a role, but it's really something inside of you that you can relate to that role. You're just acting out yourself. And a lot of his roles were very intense. So yeah, that's for Sag. Number 10 would be Capricorn. December versus January, and that's an earth sign. So December Capricorns to me are more emotional, more expressive. When I say that, I mean just more silly, more just more talkative, more open, and more like a kid personality. They're more quicker to show that because Capricorn's earth sign. So that's very like a rock, grounded. And they might not be as grounded at times as much as a January Capricorn because there's more, out there, more silly, more kiddier, more open. So examples of that would be Denzel Washington, John Legend, Tyrese Gibson, LeBron James, Diane Sawyer. Denzel, yeah, he's serious, but he also plays he also does a lot of silly things too. As far as you see him in the movies, some movies he played, he got his silly moments, his funny moments. Tyrese definitely is way more emotional, way more expressive. You can see him sometimes, like when he was on Instagram going crazy at one time over the child custody and different things. He might not be as grounded as a January Capricorn. And there's nothing wrong with that, depending on which situation is. John Legend too. LeBron James, people always get on him about crying, about calls and whining and being outspoken about him needing more. Whatever team he goes to, he need more teammates to play better. To play around him so they can win. So that's what I mean by more outspoken, more expressive, more open. And he was always acting silly too as well. January Capricorns, they're more stern, more serious demeanor, less expressive unless you get them open to be expressive and comfortable. They can be silly if you break down that wall, that strong barrier. That strong barrier and wall that they have around them. And they always seem grounded as well. You never really see a January Capricorn off their rocker. Examples of them would be Bradley Cooper, Mary J. Blige, LL Cool J, Sade, James Earl Jones. I'm going to throw Dwayne Wade in there too, and Jim Carrey. Now those people definitely always seem very serious, very poised, very grounded, no matter what's going on in their life. Serious demeanor, but they can also be silly if you get that guard down. And some people, when they hear Jim Carrey, they might be like, he always silly. But Jim Carrey always drops a lot of gems and serious stuff that make you go think when he does interviews and stuff like that. So, yeah, he might seem silly sometimes when he gets his guard down, but he's very serious too. He makes you think. He drops a lot of gems lately through the years when it comes to his interviews that make you think and go process life and everything around you over again. And Dwayne Wade, way serious, very grounded unless you get him very to himself. He was like that when he first came into the league and stuff. He started opening it up more as the years went on. Very grounded. And like I said, LeBron had to go learn from him. LeBron's a December Capricorn. Wade is a January Capricorn. LeBron had to go play with Wade because he seen how Wade won his first championship in Miami and brought the first championship to Miami ever in his third year playing. And he led that team there. And LeBron had to go to him to learn because Wade is more grounded. January could be more of a grounded leader than December because of how, like I said, it's a bit more emotional, more silly. And he had to learn from Wade, so that's the difference. Moving on. Number 11, Aquarius, January and February. And that's the air sign. For January Aquarius, I would say they're more serious. They can be way more cold, more or less expressive, unless you get them open to be like that. It'll take a while for them to open up. More serious demeanor. And they could be very detached from people. Examples of that would be Alicia Keys, Kerry Washington, J. Cole, Rakim, Joey Badass. And those people are very serious. When I say cold, that means like you don't really see them showing their emotions or different things like that. You always kind of see them serious to themselves, straight to the point. J. Cole definitely was like that. He was not really open like that too much to social media, different things. He just did his art, just like Rakim and Joey Badass did, and Alicia Keys and Kerry Washington. They wasn't just really outspoken like that, and they was just all about their craft. They was kind of distant, but still you could reach them in a weird way. If you understand what I mean. February Aquarius, I would say they're more friendly, more silly, not as cold with their emotions. They'll show their emotions way more. Not as strong demeanor where it's like a rock where you gotta where you shy away from approaching them. They're more approachable. They're more expressive. Examples of that would be Bobby Brown, John Witherspoon, Bob Marley, Cameron, and Michael B. Jordan. Now, Bobby Brown was definitely expressive, way outspoken, not cold. He was just way more sillier. Same thing with John Witherspoon. God God bless his soul and RIP. Definitely silly, definitely expressive, definitely wasn't as cold. He was more open personality. Cameron, silly, um, very expressive, very outspoken, always cracking jokes. Michael B. Jordan is not as serious. He's more open, more expressive. Bob Marley definitely was expressive, definitely was open, definitely he was very friendly. He wasn't as silly, but he was very friendly. He wasn't cold. He's very expressive too. Doing a lot of interviews and speaking about his people, his country, and what life means to him. He wasn't afraid of that. And moving on to the last sign of the zodiac, number 12, Pisces, which is a water sign. So that would be for February versus March Pisces. To me, February Pisces are more silly, more mystical, more persuasive, more mysterious, and magnetic and friendly. And when I say mystical, it's like something that similar to Scorpio because they're both water signs, but I think Pisces are more. Scorpio would be more magnetic. I would say Pisces are more mystical, where it's something about them. They have a mystique aura about them more, and you want to find out more about them. And it's something that draws you in even more about their aura, their presence, their thought process, everything. Even the way they walk, dress, everything. Examples of those would be Rihanna, Drew Barrymore, Erykah Badu, Sidney Poitier, and Dakota Fanning. Now, those people are definitely more silly, more mysterious, more mystical. Especially when you talk about Rihanna, there's something about Rihanna where everybody wants her, everybody pays attention to her. Something about Erykah Badu where everybody wants her, and there's something about where everybody she dates just goes not crazy, but their whole style change. She's puts that persuasive and mystical energy on them where she could persuade them to be a certain way. Same with Rihanna. Something about it when guys mess with her, they just open and it's just like way persuasive. She knows, but they're also very friendly. And when it comes to March Pisces, I feel like they have a more serious demeanor. They can be silly when you get them open and put that guard down, but for the most part, their mystique is way more stronger because it's like a way more stronger demeanor. They could be more detached too than February Pisces, and from their feelings at times, unless you get them to open up and then get them to trust. And examples of those would be Eva Mendes, Queen Latifah, Daniel Craig, Shaquille O'Neal, Boris Kojo, and Common. When you see Common, Shaquille O'Neal, Queen Latifah, you always see that strong demeanor to be taken serious. But they can be silly at times when you get them open, especially Shaq. Shaq looks very serious, very big, but when you get him open, he can be funny, very loving. Same with Common. Queen Latifah, she always represent no jokes, playing no games, but she's also very loving when you get her open. Eva Mendes, she always has a very serious demeanor, but can be friendly when you get that guard down, but they also want to be taken very serious. And they have a very strong mystique about them too, where it could make you it could draw you in, but at the same time, it looks very unapproachable. So, yeah, that's what I got for all those 12 signs. I know this probably was very long, but I appreciate you if you stuck with me through the end of the video, because to me, in my opinion, those are the differences when it comes to those signs based on the months. And I'm gonna go into more deeper astrology stuff in more future videos, but this is something I wanted to do different and found very interesting to do. So yeah, man, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel, and we're gonna keep rocking out and doing more videos like this and ones that's different as well with different topics. And I appreciate y'all. I hope y'all stay masked up, stay focused, stay motivated and inspired, and stay creative, and stay balanced, and stay on your purpose. Because like I said last time, we all got a destination to get to, whether we crawl there, whether we run, whether we fly. we got to get there someday and somehow. So peace, blessings, and to the next topic.